All right, everyone. So welcome. Today we are on here because my team said, Dr. Una, people have questions. People have questions about the school, and we want you to come on and answer questions. And really, we want everyone who is considering the EntreMD Business School to be confident in their decision, right? To know, okay, I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen after this, but I believe I'm making the right move. It's the right move for my practice, for my business, and all of that. So we've dedicated this time to just come and answer questions and all of that. And we're going to have an absolute blast here. And so if you have questions, post your questions in the chat. Okay, Makita already gave me a really good list. Okay, but the questions that come live will have priority. And we'll start with that. So if you're here, we haven't met before. My name is Dr. Una. I am a pediatrician by training. I've been in private practice for the last 14 years. And at this point, I will say I'm a serial entrepreneur running a number of businesses, but the business I focus on the most is EntreMD, where we are now, where we help doctors build profitable businesses so they have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on their terms. Okay, just recently we released this book, the Profitable Private Practice Playlist, playlist, I call it, playbook, and which we're so proud of because we know that this is a book that is going to create radical change in private practices everywhere. I got a review from someone who said that he was only 20 pages in, and had already implemented what he had learned so far, and was already seeing instant results, which is the whole reason why we did the book. We did the workshop. The workshop on Saturday was so good, so good. The replays are going to be up until tomorrow at midnight. And so I would say if you haven't had the opportunity to go through the workshop, you absolutely want to. You will create results in real time in your practices, okay? All right, so if you're here and you are not taking a shower, turn on your camera. We're gonna hang out. That's what we're gonna do. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. That's the only reason we're here. We're here to answer your questions and all of that. So Makita, do you want me to just run through them? Or do you want to direct me? You're the boss anyway. Let me know what you want to do. Guys, just so you know, Makita is the boss of me. I just act like I'm the boss. She's the one running the whole show.
I can, Dr. Una. I just want to make sure we have the same stuff. So I can start with some and you let me know.
Okay. All right, let's do that. Like I said, the
Okay.
boss. Okay. So, just really quickly, the reason we started the EntreMD Business School in the first place is because when I started as an entrepreneur, so this is 14 years ago, there was nothing out there about entrepreneurship. I literally used to Google physician entrepreneurs. Like, I'm like, where are the people? Okay, because I felt a little crazy. Okay, like, what are you doing? You're a doctor. What is all this stuff you're talking about? What are you trying to do? When is enough? What is wrong with you? Right. And we didn't get any business education, right? I had a private practice and I was running away from marketing. I was running away from sales. I was running away from building a team. I was running away. I didn't want to see a profit and loss statement. I didn't want to look at accounts receivable. I didn't want to do any of the things that would make a business work, right? But I came to that turning point where I realized, well, what I learned in medical school and residency and all of that made me a great clinician. But if I'm going to be a great entrepreneur, which is a requirement, even if your business is a private practice, I was like, I'm going to need to learn new things. And so I made the decision to learn new things. And I realized it's not as complicated. Now we are going to change. We need to change. We are going to need to do things differently, but we can, and we can learn them. And if we can learn the Krebs cycle, we can learn them. And so that's the whole reason why we put the EntreMD Business School together. You don't need more, like curriculum the way you would get out of a business school. You don't need a whole nother certification. You just need to know what you need to know to make the business work. And we put that together in the simplest way possible so that you can thrive as an entrepreneur. You can thrive as a physician entrepreneur. So it's by a doctor for doctors. The school has been around for over 4 years at this point, dramatic results in different kinds of businesses. So if it's something that you're like, I've been thinking about, your next step after we're done with this will be to book a call. You're going to meet Makita today. So Makita is who you will talk with. We have no interest in strong arming anybody in the school. We have no interest in putting you in an uncomfortable call and kind of making you feel bad for not choosing to join the school at all. Our job is to have a conversation with you, find out what is going on with your business, find out what your business goals are. And then if there's an alignment, we will say, okay, we think the business school will work for you, just like it's worked for people who are running businesses like yours, who want goal, have accomplished goals like what you're trying to accomplish. And, let's go ahead and do it. And if we feel like maybe not, we will tell you. And we have done this. Okay. All right. So I'm going to hand this over to Makita she's going to kind of direct us here, like what questions we have to answer and all of that.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Una. First of all, it's so good to see everyone. I know this workshop on Saturday was phenomenal. I've been hearing so many amazing things. So thank you, Dr. Una, for the book, and thank you for the workshop. We have already had people experience wins from the workshop and aha moments about things that they can already start implementing for their practices. And that's what the EntreMD brand is all about. We're all about building physicians, helping physicians build profitable businesses and helping them build businesses that also give them not just a profitable business, but also their dream life. So it's dream life and dream business at the same time. So what I'd like to do now is just ask Dr. Una some questions that come up often. I have the privilege of talking to doctors all the time, and these are some of the questions that people wonder about when it comes to the school. So we'd love to hear from her perspective, and feel free to, like Dr. Una said, to put your own questions in the comments as well if I don't mention any of them. But I think you'll find these very relevant to you. The first set of questions I'd like to ask you, Dr. Una, is about who is the school for? Now, for example, let's say I'm an entrepreneur, I'm currently employed, which, there may be some people in this group that are thinking about private practice. They joined the workshop because they're thinking about going into private practice, but they don't have one yet. Or maybe they just, they just started and they're just wondering who if I'm an entrepreneur, if I'm an employed physician, but I just know that there's more. Would the workshop be for me?
Yeah, so I'll start off by talking about my the way I approach this. Okay, when we started the business school in 2020, when I started learning all the things I learned about entrepreneurship, is because I had this understanding that there's no Calvary coming for us. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to help our practices win. Nobody's coming to end burnout for physicians. Nobody's coming to make things better for you. Like, nobody's coming. And so if I'm going to practice medicine on my terms, if I'm going to live life on my terms, then I am going to create that, right? And for me, entrepreneurship is the vehicle we use to do that. Whether you are employed, whether you are running a private practice, whether you're a coach or consultant, entrepreneurship is the way, right? And so somebody who's an entrepreneur might, like who's working a job may say, okay, it's the business school for me. And the truth of the matter, it is, because you have a business. Every physician has a business. It is a business called Dr. U Incorporated. You already have this business, right? The question is, are you using it? Is it profitable? So when people tell you, oh, come speak on my stage, when Big Pharma tells you, come speak for us and all of those things, they understand that you are a business, right? When recruiters reach out to you and say, oh, refer your friends to me, they understand that you're a business and your network is valuable, right? A lot of times we don't realize that. So there are many people who've come into the school and they're just like, I know there's more. I don't know what more is. I know there's more. And many of them have gone on to build speaking careers, doing really well in it. Many of them have gone on to be brand ambassadors, build podcasts that they monetize. And many of them, eventually after doing that for a year, went on to start their own private practices, whether it's insurance-based or cash-based. But once you become a physician entrepreneur, that entrepreneurship bug that you have is the gift that keeps giving. Because we don't know. You don't know what business you're going to end up with, right? And so my thing is that if you are like, there's more, and I want to go all in on it, the business school is for you. Now, I know a lot of you here are in private practice. If you're in private practice, it's 1,000% even more so for you, okay? Because this is the deal. Many practices are not run like businesses. They're run like jobs that the owners own. And so that's the reason why we can't sell our practices. That is the reason why we have teams, and our teams are more of an expense than an investment. That is the reason why we have teams and we're not having meetings with them. We're not casting vision with them. We're not holding billers accountable. We're not talking about money. And it costs an unbelievable amount of money to run a private practice poorly. As you saw during the workshop, as you saw if you've read the book, in the book, we used a case study with Dr. Ebony, who is a pediatrician, right? And so not the highest paying specialty, but still you could see that she was leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. And so if you're a private practice, this is something you 1000% want to consider. And I see Dr. Edwin is on here and Dr. Crystal Nelson is on here as well. And they will tell you, like private practice, EntreMD Business School, Siamese twins, right? Like it's a rite of passage. But anyway, so the truth of the matter is, for every physician who's ready to go after what more is, it is a great fit for you. But if you're in private practice, it's probably more expensive not to do it than it is to do it. And that's the truth. The numbers are clear.
Thank you for that, Dr. Una. And I mean, when you think about the support of the community, when you think, because, sometimes people wonder, but my practice is a DPC practice or a direct specialty practice, or, I have a certain niche. I'm into, my practice focuses on weight loss. I need to know how to market my practice. You've got the community there. You've got the strategy that comes from you there. So that's amazing. One other spin-off of that question, Dr. Una, is what if someone is actually doing very well in their private practice? They, have crossed the seven-figure mark, and now they have other problems. You've often said on the podcast that the reward for solving problems is more problems. So now they may be dealing with more problems related to systems and teams. Would the business school be for someone like that as well?
Yeah, so for yes, the answer to that is yes, and for two reasons. One of them is, it is possible to build a practice and take it to seven figures, and there's some foundational things that are not working. Like for instance, maybe you had somebody who handed off a lot of patients for you, so you truthfully don't know how to market. You truthfully do not have a referral base. I mean, you're one like somebody could make one decision, we're no longer referring to you, and you find out like, oopsie, like I'm not actually in control of this thing, right? And so you could have issues with marketing, you could have issues with your billing, because you could be running your practice as long as there's enough money in the bank to do payroll and meet your expenses. You're not actually optimizing the practice because you're leaving so much money on the table, like so much, right? You could have a team that you're not doing anything with. I cannot tell you how many doctors have team, like they have a full team. The team don't have revenue generating activities. The team celebrates when it's a slow day, right? And if you're here, let me know in the chat if you've ever had that experience. The team is excited when there's a slow day, and you're going like, oh my goodness, but we actually need to see patients to meet payroll and to do all the other things that we need to do. And so there could be a lot of foundational things that are not quite in order. I've seen many people who are like, oh, we're doing 3 million in revenue, but I'm not able to pay myself. Or I'm doing 3 million in revenue, but I want to throw the whole practice away because I'm drowning in it. I'm drowning in the practice, right? And so on one side, there's that. Now somebody else may be here and like, no, I have a really well run practice and all of those things, but they're Siamese twins with their practice, right? They cannot walk away from their practice for a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 months, and it still runs, right? Because you have to evolve from, the first stage, you're really working on building the profits, doing all of those things. The second stage is, can I build my practice? And this is for everybody, right? Whether you join the school or not, I want you to hear this. Can I build my practice so that it is a business asset? It is like a mini health system, and it can work without me. It can work without me. This is the goal, not because you're going to leave your practice. It becomes your choice, but now you have a choice. This means if you want to take a month off, you can. This means if you want to work 4 days a week or 3 days a week, you can. If you want to retire, you can. Sometimes people tell me, well, I just want to sell my practice. I'm like, when? In the next few months. I'm like, that's not the way this works. This is a multi-year process for you to convert it into an entity that can work without you, right? And you do it in such a way that you can actually get a return on your investment. So people will say a lot, there's no value in a physician in a private practice. Like, you cannot sell a private practice because there's no guarantee the patients will stay if the doctor leaves. But that's not entirely true. I have not set foot in my practice in the last 2.5 years, right? And so you can't tell me that if I leave, the practice will not work, because it's already working without me in it. It is a business asset. Now, am I saying retire? I'm not saying that. Like, everybody has their path. This is my path. But the idea is there's more. And so beyond the support we give in the business school, there's a tier of the school that like you've created $1 million problems. We solve those problems there. But the answer to your question is absolutely, absolutely.
That's so good to know. Thank you, Dr. Una. Now, one question I often get is, it's a kind of a generalized question, but people want to know, what is the curriculum? They're looking for more specific, answers on that. We hear all these wonderful success stories. And I always tell people, what sets the business school apart is that we're action oriented. We're not curriculum heavy, we're action oriented. But people still want to know what is the curriculum. And I think a piggyback of that question is, how will the school help me? I think that's what they're really, really getting at.
Yeah. So, as Nikita just said, we're not very heavy on curriculum. Now, there is a curriculum, don't get me wrong, but we're very big on getting you to learn what you need to learn, to do what you need to do to get the results, because the doing is where all of this stuff happens. So there, think of it as there are 4 things we help you accomplish. Okay. And these are 4 things you're going to need to thrive as a physician entrepreneur. Because I can say, we have 52 classes and lectures, and we have these certificates and these exams you take, on all of that. But let me know in the chat, do you want a certificate or do you want a profitable business? Like, at some point we're like, I want a practice that works. Right. And so what is it that we help you do 4 things. Okay. The first thing, which is the most important thing, is we help you make that transition from physician to physician entrepreneur, because the way a physician thinks and the way an entrepreneur thinks, they are completely different. Okay. As physicians, we have the whole, I'm a perfectionist and all of these things. If it will be done well, I have to do it. We help you shed that in a hurry. People have come into the school, and within 2 weeks, they've bought back 10 hours of their time. We show you how to manage your time. We show you how to set business goals. We show you how to build your dream business as you're building your dream life, as you're building your dream business. We help you make that transition, right? So that's the very first thing. And what do we want? We want that. We want that. We want to become those kind of people. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we show you how to build a dominant brand. One of the areas where I struggled the most as an entrepreneur was putting myself out there. I started off as a socially awkward, introverted introvert. Okay. And so I was not going to put myself out there. I thought promoting myself was bad. I thought talking about what I did, and all of that was manipulation. I thought all those things. But this is the thing. You cannot build a successful business in hiding. Right? Now you may say, but Dr. Una, there's money in my bank account and I'm hiding. This is true. But think about what you're leaving on the table. Think about the impact you could have in this world with your business that is not happening because you're hiding. Right? Now, so if you're an introvert, I get it. If you're a private person, I get it. If you feel like, oh, but is that manipulation? I get it, because that was me. Like 3 for 3, that was me. But we help you learn how to build a dominant brand, do it in a professional way, do it in a classy way, do it in a way that's authentic to you, right? But we show you how to do that. Why is this important? Because the best sold products are the best selling products, not the best products. And in healthcare today, we have some of the most educated people on this call right now, the people with the greatest expertise, greatest experience, greatest heart for people. But if you do not put a dominant brand behind it, people will go somewhere else. The people don't know any better, right? So if it will be, we have to let them know. So we help you do that, so you can attract all the patients and clients that you need to hit your business goals. The third thing that we help you accomplish is we help you build a revenue generation system. like, so you understand how to create revenue. And if you've read this book, and if you haven't got this book, okay, if you're in private practices, you know the way you get an OSHA manual and you get a employee handbook, you must get this. Okay, you must get this. But if you look in the book, you will find that there is no fluff. We legit show you how to create revenue in your practice. We show you how to do it because it's something that if we can master, right, running codes and literally bringing people back from the dead, we can master creating revenue. There's a framework, there's a blueprint, right? How do I do this? And we have so many people that we've supported, you know, so they can do this. They're building multiple six-figure businesses, seven-figure business, 7+. Number of them started off in the EntreMD Business School as employees. So I'm not telling you about something that we could do. I'm telling you about something you can do. Run a private practice that was born in the recession of 2008, survived the pandemic of 2020, survived the Great Resignation and all of that, not survived, thrived through these things. Why? Because there is a system. So we help you build that system, right, in your business. So one is that we help you make the transition from physician to physician entrepreneur. Two is we help you build a dominant brand so you're visible. You're visible, okay? Three is that we help you, and we have, I mean, like we have people who are speakers in the school who CNN calls and says, hey, will you come talk about this thing? We have people who, you know, like they're being courted by, you know, we've had people like, oh, we want a course made. This is baby center. And they're reaching out to somebody to have that done. We have all kinds, like when I say all kinds of visibility going on, all kinds, right? Okay. We help you build that revenue generation framework. And then the fourth thing is that, oh my goodness, we help you build a profitable team. Notice I said profitable team because you can have a team that is a weight because you're the one who is constantly doing the work to bring revenue in. We show you how to unleash your team where they are now all the ones standing with you to generate revenue. And this is the deal. There is no true freedom as an entrepreneur without a team. The sooner we figure this out, the better. I will not be able to do what I'm doing at EntreMD if I did not have a team. Team in my private practice, team in EntreMD, team in all my business, personal team, and we will show you how to build them all. Okay? All right. So I want you to think about this. You come into the school. These are the 4 things that we help you accomplish. What would the outcome be? You have multiplied impact. You have financial freedom. You have time freedom. And you let me know if that's not what you want. But for more, I've spoken to thousands of physicians. This is what they want. So we have the framework to get you there, right? And so that's, you know, that's what you'd get out of the school. And as far as, you know, how would it help you? That's what we do. That's what we do in the EntreMD Business School and have done for the last 4 years.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Ona. And a segue to that is, I mean, we've talked about all the things that the school would do for you. Now, I think a segue to that is learning what the components of the school are. And we have a question already about that. One of the components of the school is the private Facebook group. And the question concerning that is from Dr. Cazorla Lancaster, and she is asking, will you always stay on Facebook, or is there any possibility you may move to another platform for the community? So maybe discuss the components of the school and answer that question.
Okay, great. And that's a great question. Okay, so when it comes to, you know, what this translates to, right? I'll talk about the top ones. But the thing is that we offer quite a bit, okay? But the most powerful thing, and this is by survey, what the students in the school have said over the years, is that we have a live session every Wednesday, okay? So think of it like, you know, a live call, a mentorship call and stuff like that. And on there are a number of things we can do. I'm either coming to train on a specific thing, whether that is, you know, how to hire, you know, whatever that is, but we're doing something specific, or we do workshop style, because, you know, I'm the person who go to the conference. You know, back in the day, I'll go to a conference, I'll write 26 things that I'm going to do after the conference. and I never look at that list ever again, right? And so we do a lot of workshops where you can come in and work in real time, right? So you're getting the thing done in real time, because that's the way to maximize the time. Sometimes we would have guests come in there, but there's a live session every Wednesday. Okay. Fun fact is, Thanksgiving Day is on Thursday. And every year, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I have been like, okay, guys, so I guess I'll see you. We're going to skip next week because it's Thanksgiving. And people are like, absolutely not. This is the highlight of my week, and that's okay. We will have the turkey in the oven, but we will be here on Wednesday. Okay. So just so you get a feel for how Wednesday goes. And so that happens, that's on a Zoom call. So that happens every single week. We have the private Facebook community, which, oh my goodness, is such a resource, because what that means is beyond the call, whenever you have questions, you can come there and ask. And the students in the school, I have to give them credit for this. They are so giving. What that means is if somebody's going through a challenge, we call them challenges, not problems. When someone is going through a challenge, they're coming on there to say, okay, this is what is going on with me. Okay. And people will come out of the woodworks to support, to connect, to answer questions, to connect them to resources they need and things like that. When people have wins, somebody will literally come in. I remember a doc who came in, and her goal was to cross 7 figures. That was her big goal. And she crossed it sometime in November. And she came out and she's like, okay, crossed the 7-figure mark. These are the things that got me there. Like, where do you find that kind of vulnerability, right? That kind of generosity. These are the things that got it. I hired a rock star. These are the things I did to do that. I had an open house. 400 people attended the open house for my private practice. These are the things that I did. These are the mistakes I made. Don't make them, right? Like, and so that community is so, I mean, like, think of it like endless learning, tapping into a network that you didn't have, and so that is really, really powerful, so that would be the second thing there. And funny enough, the third thing is, I'm just giving an order, like the way people have ranked them is every month we have a book club of sorts. We don't get together to discuss the book, but there's a book everybody's reading. And there's some accountability to make sure people are reading, going through it and all of that. And it's been so much transformation just from the books that we recommend every month. And so we have those things. We have live events that we do. We have, power hour for people to come and implement. So there are a number of other things, but, I just wanted to give you some highlights there. Someone's asking if we'll stay on Facebook, or is there any possibility we'll move to another platform? So this is the deal. There have been so many platforms. I was going to call names. We don't need to call names. There's so many platforms that are Facebook-like, and that have had a lot of promise. And people are like, oh my goodness, I'm getting off Facebook. I'm going to do this community over there. I have not found anyone who was able to successfully get all their people off there and build the kind of engagement they had on Facebook, because the people are on Facebook. So we have made attempts to take it off Facebook. We've done a few trials, and none of those trials have worked. So the rule of serving people is you go to where the people are to serve them. And so for now, since we have not been able to find a platform where people will go to, we're on Facebook. So for the people who don't like to be on Facebook, they literally will come into the community, do their business, check in once a day or once every other day or so, check in, do their business, and check out. So you can do that, but for now, it will be on Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Una. Now, this is a question that I get often. I mean, everything you're saying about the school sounds so good, but Dr. Una, you need to convince me, because there's so many different types of businesses, so many people at different levels. There are people making multiple 7 figures. There are people who are just starting. You've got coaches, DPC practices, private practices, speakers, people with products. How is everybody getting what they need in that one Wednesday session?
Yeah, so first of all, if you think about the 4 things that we said that will help you accomplish, right? These are things that you're going to need no matter what kind of business you run. You're going to need to make the transition from physician to physician entrepreneur. You're going to need to build a dominant brand. You're going to need to learn how to generate revenue, build a revenue generation system, and you need a profitable team. So we are really big on the timeless, proven business principles that work. And this is a funny thing, right? If we did it where it was only one like it was only one kind of business. Guess what happens when people have a successful business? They go start another one. Like once you make that transition from physician to physician entrepreneur, you keep coming up with new things. Like there are people I'm looking at on this call, they know themselves. I'm looking at them, they're looking at me. They're already like, yeah, so I've crushed this. I've built a team. The team is leading it. I want to do this other thing. How are they going to learn to do that? Right. Like, so imagine if they only had experience in one industry. How are they going to do that? Right. But that's by the way. I will tell you one of the things that I learned. I learned that innovation is not necessarily doing new things nobody has done. A lot of times innovation is taking something that works excellently, is proven in one industry and taking it to another, and all of a sudden you're a genius. That is really what happens. Now, when I look at my practice in 2020 during the pandemic, there's so many private practices that went out of business because people weren't coming out. People were hiding. In fact, we call some people like, "How is it out there?" I'm like, "What do you mean out there? Like you're in a war zone, right?" What helped us do better in 2020 than 2019 was all the things that I saw coaches doing. We applied all the email marketing. We went crazy on YouTube. We understood how to overcome objections, like when people don't want to come or all of those kind of things that people who needed to come, right? We learned all of those things. And because of that, we were busier the pandemic year than the year before that, right? So it was innovation for private practice because many people they collect emails every single day, but they do not have an email list because that's not a thing we do, right? And so it's innovation. So the coaches are learning from the private practice people, the private practice people are learning from the speakers are learning from it's learning. But this is the thing. We are not people who will give you a checklist and say, this is a checklist for the private practice, go do that. We are going to stand with you and help you become an entrepreneur, which is very different, is the harder thing, but that becomes the gift that will continue giving for the rest of your life. So the thing is, people can look at that as a disadvantage. It's not a disadvantage, it's an advantage. It's an advantage because it makes you so innovative. And there are things we accept in the private practice world, for instance, that will confuse the coaches. Like for the first time you go like, maybe something's wrong with this, because they're like, wait, what? Like I was talking to Makita, I was talking to my brother. My brother is he's a software engineer. And I was talking to him and he was like, so you guys run charities? Because he was reading the Prophet of Private. He was like, so people just come and they don't like you run charities? He was so confused. This is the confusion you need around the things in your business you should stop doing. But the point is this: tons of innovation. Again, your opportunities, we give opportunities to ask questions on every call, every single week. There are opportunities to ask questions in the Facebook group. So if there's anything that you need addressed, it can always be addressed. But the diversity of the group is a gift. It's a gift.
It really is. I mean, everyone that is in the school can attest to that. But Dr. Una, what if I am looking at, I mean, each time you talk, I'm like, oh my gosh, you really get me. You're speaking to me, and I really, really want one-on-one coaching. Is there any aspect of the school where I can talk with you one-on-one?
Yeah, so not in the context of the school. We don't. The school is a group program. Think of it like medical school, right? Like it's a group program. There isn't any one-on-one. And really, when somebody is starting off in business, if I may be honest with you, not starting off, but once you start hitting 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, maybe, you start creating unique problems. And maybe you need one-on-one coaching for that. But in the earlier stages, especially if you're not in the world of entrepreneurship, what you need is immersion. Please hear me when I say this. I've been playing this game for a long time. What you need is immersion. So I'm not somebody who is very quick to pick up on languages. I speak every language I speak with an accent. It's the most bizarre thing, but that's just my life, right? If I wanted to learn Spanish and I paid to do a 30-minute class once a week down the street, I would learn Spanish. But chances are I will not be conversational anytime soon, and I will probably always be terrible at it. because I'm only hearing that for 30 minutes once a week. If I move to Spain, though, right, then the signs are in Spanish. The menu is in Spanish. The TV is in Spanish. Everybody starts talking to me in Spanish. And I'll pick it up so much quicker. I will learn almost by osmosis. And that's the same thing in the EntreMD Business School. You get to be, I'm telling you, okay, so we have doctors who launched their private practice recently, all the way to veterans who have been in private practice for decades and are doing like upwards of 5 million, 8 million in revenue a year. You get all of this. And they're coming, like you get the whole breadth of experience, right? You get to see them hire, you get to see them fire, you get to see the way they run their meetings, you get to see all of that. You're not going to get that in a one-on-one setting. Like really, you're not going to get that. So I remember when we first started this school, you know, Makita, I don't think people ask you about this as often as they used to. And people would say, no, I know, but I really just want one-on-one. And then after they joined the school and we're like, so what is your experience like? They'll say, so Dr. Una is really cool and all, but oh my goodness, the community. And every time they'll say, it'll warm my heart because I'm like, this is what I was trying to tell you. Like for real, this is what I try to tell you. Okay, so yeah.
Okay, and we have a question in the comments, and I want to address that real quick. The question is from Dr. Cora. It says, is this course recommended before one starts private practice, or is it better that a practice is already in place and just needs to thrive? Which you answered earlier, that it is recommended before you start, if you haven't started. But I also would love for you to talk a little bit about the business before the business, which is something that we've kind of coined in the
Yeah,
school.
yeah. So this is the deal, right? There are a few things that are true. Starting a practice doesn't make you an entrepreneur. Like it doesn't. Like you're a physician who has a practice. It doesn't make you an entrepreneur. There are skills that need to be acquired. How do I market this practice? How do I get comfortable talking about money? How do I lead a team? How do I hire a team? How do I de-hire if I need to, right? How do I generate profit? There is nothing in our training that got us ready for that. And so when we start a practice without it, it means that rather than starting and hitting the ground running, we're going to start and then we have to start learning all those things because the learning will precede the result. The question is, when are we doing the learning, right? So starting a practice doesn't make us an entrepreneur. Opening your practice doesn't mean people are going to beat down the door to come either, right? Like when you open it, this is the way I put it. I took one for the team, okay? When I started my private practice, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm amazing. I have like, you know, great people skills, great bedside manner. The patients that I already have, they absolutely love me. I'm going to start my practice and this is going to be amazing. I'm going to hang the shingle and they're going to come. And I hung the shingle and they did not come because that's not the way this works. It used to work back, way back in the day. That's not how this works anymore, right? And so when people ask us about this, we talk about what we call the business before the business. You want to spend the time before you open your doors, acquiring all the patients that will keep you busy when you do open your doors, right? And so that is building out your brand, building out your referral base, building your wait list, and all of that. So Dr. Karen Kaufman talked about this. And if you haven't had a chance to catch the replay for the workshop, Nikita will post the link again. You definitely want to catch it. And she shared her story because it's so funny. September of 2021, she was on a call just like this, and she asked this same exact question. Do I start now or do I start later? I'm like, ma'am, you start now. It's called the business before the business. You start now. And you build this. So when you start busy. She joined the school September of 2021. She started her practice September of 2020. She started her practice January of 2021. She started with 300 people on a wait list. She saw 16 or 17 patients day one and has been busy ever since. She has since hired a nurse practitioner, a part-time physician, and she has a full-time physician that's about to start. This is from January of 2021, right? Okay, so you need to make the transition. physician to physician entrepreneur, and you need to start the business before the business. So the best time to start is now. So you can start working. You can start working strategically, and you can build a practice that works. Okay. And this is the deal, guys. Like, ignorance is bliss does not apply to business, because your ignorance costs. When I started my private, I was like, wait, ignorance is not bliss. Your ignorance costs literal dollars. So sometimes people tell me, oh, the investment in the school. I'm like, it's a lot less than what you're throwing away by not knowing what to do. You know what I mean? And especially with private practice, because of how high the overhead is, right? So yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Una. And part of that too is that a lot of times physicians feel like they have very specific questions. They may have a specific demographic, they may be in a specific area, or just, very unique business. And so we understand everything you said about the innovation and learning from one another, but there's another question about how do you get your specific questions answered. I may have questions that aren't covered in the Wednesday live session, or they aren't covered um, anywhere else, so to speak. So where can I find those answers?
Yeah, so the Wednesday live sessions, like, usually when we end them with Q&A. And it doesn't have to be on whatever we talked about. Your Q&A can be on whatever. 24/7, there's a private practice, there's a private Facebook group. And if there's specific questions, like today somebody posted about, I'm getting ready to hire my physician, what are the questions I need to be asking this person, right? And so I go in, I put I answer, but then again, there are other doctors who are doing the same thing, who are like, this is what I did, this is what I did, and all of those kind of things. So you can ask whatever. Like, you can ask whatever in the Facebook, like, I'm doing an open house, like, what are the things I need to do or not do? I launched this YouTube channel, how do I do this? Like, I mean, like, you can ask whatever. It really doesn't matter. So with those two resources, you get your questions answered. When we have our, in-person events and stuff like that, we have a lot of Q&A in those ones as well. And so not having your questions answered is not really an issue. I hope for the people who are coming in that you're not too shy. Like, if you're shy, you won't raise your hand. It's a safe place where we invite you. I say it on almost every call. Like, if you're not used to raising your hand, raise your hand. This is a safe place, right? And you can start practicing all those things, right? But yeah, you'll always have opportunities to ask whatever it is you need to ask.
Thank you, Dr. Una. How long is the time commitment in the school? Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Okay, so the answer is it depends. I feel like a radiologist. Clinical correlation is required. Okay, it depends. Okay, but so this is the deal. Every Wednesday you have the calls that we have. And it usually runs from 7 p.m. Eastern to 8. Not to 8, to 8:15 or 8:30. However, usually by 8, we're done with the core content. And after that, we're really answering questions and things like that. So you need an hour to an hour and a half for that call. At minimum, you need that, and you probably need at least 2 hours for execution. This is at minimum. So this is someone who's working full time and all of those kind of things. But the thing is, the more time you have to give to it, the better. But even if you're strapped for time, you'll be able to make steps moving forward every single day, which is where the magic is. It's not in the one big thing once in a while. Now, having said that, I know a lot of people, their concern is, I don't have the time, I don't have the time, I don't have the time. Not having the time is a symptom of having not made that transition from physician to physician entrepreneur. One of the things we'll do when you come in is we will show you how to build your custom CEO calendar. Okay, not a to-do list, not a planner, like your CEO calendar, where you learn to buy back your time, where you learn to spend most of your time doing the most important things. That's the way you get more done, by doing less, right? So all these things, the last time we did a training on it, we did it for 3 weeks, like 3 separate Wednesdays. Like, this is how you do it and take back your time. So not having time is not a reason not to join the school. That's actually more reason to join the school, so you can learn how to get your time back, right? That's kind of the way that works. All right.
So, and then what is the time commitment in terms of how long is the school?
Yeah, so the school is however long you want it to be after a year. Okay, so the commitment is for a year, and then many people will then go on to renew and stuff like that. We have people who've been in the school since it started in July of 2020. Like, they have not left. They have their own hashtag, EBS for life. So we say a year. And the reason why we say it is not because it'll take you a year to start seeing results. There are results that you'll start seeing, but it does take time for you to make all the transitions, install what you need to install. And entrepreneurship really is a lifelong thing, if you will, right? But it takes a minute, right? And so we want you to get really wild results. We want you to see transformation. And that takes a little bit of time. So we do a year. So people will then say, I don't know, Makita, if you were going to ask this, but people say, can I try the school? Can I try the school? And I'm like, no. And the reason why I say no is because I know it will not work. It's like saying, can I try medical school? It will not work, right? Like, entrepreneurship is like, it has this challenge. You can't win by trying. It requires your commitment. Like, I'm all in, I'm going to make this work. It does require that. So there are people I've told, I'm like, like, I'd rather you just hang on till you're able to say, I'm going to do what is required. And you can say, I'm going to do what is required and be afraid. You can say, I'm going to do what is required and be unsure. You can say, I'm going to do what is required without knowing what is required. You did that for medical school. You're just like, we're going to make this work, right? And so once you have that attitude, then you've really set yourself up to succeed. And without it, it's hard, almost impossible to. And so when people say, can I try it? I'm like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, So yeah. So it's at least a year. That was a long answer to your simple question.
No, I mean, it's so important. And I think there's a little bit of fear there. And, the reason why people want to try the school is because they're not sure. They see it working for other people, but they're just wondering, well, is it going to work for me? So could you speak on that a little bit? What makes someone successful in the school?
Yeah. That's so I'll say two separate things. I love physicians. Okay. I'm always rooting for physicians. I'm always looking for how to help us thrive. And I'm going to tell you something that is an attitude that I have. Okay. And I'm not saying it because we're not going to show up and do the work. If you were at the workshop, I'm going to show up and do the work. There are people in the business school here. I'm going to show up and do the work. I'm not going to not work. But I want to tell you something. I have never, ever lost money on a program. I have never. It has never happened. It has never happened where I signed up for something and I did not get an ROI. Now, for me to say that, it means that I have taken the power away from anybody who is running any program. I've taken the power away from them, and I've taken radical responsibility. And I'm like, if I'm going to pay you, I'm going to put a 0 by that, or a 4 by that, or something, and I'm going to get a return on my investment. I have even signed up for a program that was not a good fit, not because they were not doing what they needed to do, but it was a business program and they require that you coached people using their exact methodology. And I'm like, but I already have my own methodology. I didn't realize that when I signed up for it. And I think it was, I don't know, it was 10 grand or something like that. But I tell you something, I showed up and I was like, well, this is an entrepreneur who's building a really successful business. I'm going to stay in the program. I'm going to learn what they know. I'm going to watch how they lead their teams. I'm going to watch how they execute on their events. I'm going to do all of that. And I'm going to walk away with an ROI. I made a huge ROI on that, even though it was a poor fit, even though I didn't necessarily use their methodologies, because it's a decision. That's where it starts from. It's a decision that this is going to work for me. That's the starting point. So I just want to throw that out there because you're my people. I just want to tell you, because that's the way I think about it. If I show up and I sign up for something, I am getting an ROI. Okay. So now let's talk about over the years, because Makita and I, we've talked about this a lot. We've studied this a lot. Like, who is the school a best fit for? Okay. And I will tell you, is the best fit for someone who's committed to their business goals. If if you're like, I want to try this thing, entrepreneurship doesn't work with trying. We know that it doesn't work with trying. So it's like, I'm gonna own this, and I'm committed to my goals. I'm committed to what I want to get done. Okay. When people come in with that attitude, we know they're going to win. Okay. So that's the first. The second thing is that they're coachable. So people sometimes, like, people could come in like a cup half full, or a cup empty, and some people come as a full cup. You can't, they're not, they're like, I tried that before, it didn't work. Okay, let's do this. I don't want to do this. It won't work for my kind of business. Okay, let's do this. No, it doesn't feel authentic to me. Let's do it. Like, they're not even hearing anything. They're not open to anything. The school won't work, right? Because for you to get different results, you will be required to do different things. But for the people who it does work for, they're coachable. They're open to exploring new ideas. They're open to trying new things. They're open to different ways of thinking. They're open to trying different strategies. I interviewed Dr. Karen Kaufman on Saturday, during the call that we had. And she's one person who amazes me because she's so coachable, right? Like, she's like, let me try that. Let me try this. Oh, that is so uncomfortable, but let me try that. But look at where it brought her in 3.5 years, right? And so being coachable is the second one. The third one is really people who stay in communication. Because we work hard, Nikita will tell you, we work hard to try and read people's minds, see what's going on with them, see how their businesses are doing. Like, we keep tabs on our people. But the truth of the matter is, if somebody is struggling and they're hiding it, it's like having a fever and not telling your doctor. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're like, man, I'm struggling with this thing, that's why the Facebook group is there. Ask the question. That is why the Wednesday calls are there. Raise your hand. But you invested in this stuff, and we're here to support you. Like, I tell people, take full advantage. Like, just go all in and take everything at your disposal. It's all here for you to help you win. So people who are coachable, people who are committed, and people who will stay in communication, they're typically the people who would thrive in the school. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Una. And the other thing that people sometimes wonder, and I think, and you just answered this question as well, is that, is there a guarantee? I want some type of guarantee, but this is the guarantee: being committed to your results, being coachable, and staying in communication. And I think the other one is taking action. Being someone that takes action, which is, goes along with the being coachable, but that's your guarantee. That's how you can get your guarantee that you will do well in the school. So if someone doesn't feel comfortable with social media, Dr. Ono, or doesn't feel comfortable doing videos, are we gonna force?
We're not going to force anybody to do anything. Okay, so this is the deal. So yes and no, but we won't force you. Force is not the word. We wouldn't do that. We would highly recommend it. Okay, so this is the deal. If you're in private practice, could you build a solid referral base and never have to do a video and never have to be on social media? You can probably get away with it. Like, you probably could. But at the end of the day, I have some foresight. I have a fair idea of what is possible for us. Okay. I started off in private practice, and I ran away from doing video. I ran away from social media. I was like, you mean my face on the World Wide Web with my lips moving? That is not happening. Right? Like, I was like, I am not doing that. But I also spend a lot of time thinking about my 90th birthday party. And when I turn 90, I want to have done all that I have the potential to do. I do not want to have regret at 90 because I won't have enough time to fix it. So I want to explore all of it, right? So one, or energy, like, so one is that, will it make your private practice, for instance, stand out? Absolutely. Why? Because so few people are willing to do it. So few physicians are willing to show their faces be on YouTube, do any of those things. So the second you do it, you are the authority. You are the expert. I had a client who did this, right? And she was an employed physician, but was working towards partnership and all of that stuff. She did this. She was the one. There was no one else to go to. People were leaving other practices to join her practice because she's there, so she must. She must, right? She must know what she's doing. She must be the person we should go to. When there's a pandemic, that is the time when, like in basketball, for instance, right? The star player gets injured. That's when it matters that you have a solid bench. Because if you don't have a bench, it's game over. When something shows up, there's a challenge, there's something that happened in your personal life, or there's something that happened to the business, or there's one big hospital that put a primary care practice right by yours, or whatever. That's when you realize a good bench is a good thing, right? And so if you leveraged all these tools, it will make things so much easier for you. And the other thing is, you don't know if you're a speaker. You will never know what you love till you try. One of the things I love to do, Makita will tell you, is I love to host live events, because I'm like, I know how to host transformative live events. Like, you come in one way, you leave the other way. Like, I love it. But remember, I was a socially awkward introvert. I would have never known that I could be so good at that if I didn't try. You don't know what you're good at. You don't know what you'll excel at. You don't know what will be the thing for you. You won't know till you try. So what I will say is, can you build without it? Absolutely. However, could your life and business be completely magical because it turns out you're really good at this thing and it opened doors for you that you never knew it would otherwise open? Yeah. So why skip out on that? And we'll show you how to do it. And it's not coming from somebody who doesn't understand being uncomfortable with this. It comes from somebody who is like, I get it. I get it 1,000%. Let me show you how to do it. You're a private person, so am I. Let me show you how to do it as a private person and still be authentic. You don't have to put your business out there. Your business persona can be out there, but you don't have to be out there, right? So yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Noel said. Dr. Kaur has a question. Do you continue to support candidates after the completion of the course?
Yeah, so not quite course, like, let's not look at it that way. The business school is a little different. So it's up to the person. So some people will decide when they come in that they're there, they're not going anywhere. Like I said, we have people who've been in school for 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. In fact, I think the last event we had, 43% of the people in the room had been in the school for longer than a year. So we have a lot of people stay on. And so we continue to support them at the same high level. For the people who decide, like, I've gotten what I need to get and I'm moving on, then there's not really a container to do that outside of all the other things we do, whether that's the book, the podcast. And if you listen to the podcast, it's not fluffy. There's nothing fluffy about it. The podcast, or, any live, non-client live events like EntreMD Live and stuff like that. So that's what that would look like.
Thank you, Dr. Una. There's very few times where I talk to a physician entrepreneur that only has one business idea. Most of them have many business ideas, or the idea, or they're hoping to integrate this into their practice. Um, but you've often said that we have our babies one at a time. And I know that sometimes you can have two businesses that are parallel, that are congruent with each other, that aren't in competition with each other. But if the businesses are very different, I guess the question is, are we going to make them choose? That's one question people want to know. Choose to do one business at a time.
Because they hear me on the podcast all the time, no? Well, okay, so again, see, if the EntreMD Business School is about how to make, 100 grand, and that's it will be different. But I know that we have the potential to build solid businesses, great teams, build businesses that can work, like, without us. I know for a fact that many of the people on EntreMD Business School are going to go on to be serial entrepreneurs. I know that. So because I know that, I also know the rules of the game, because sometimes people will tell me, well, I have 7 streams of income. I'm like, your 7 streams are all less than $100,000. Those are 7 trickles of income. That's not that, no. If you look at the ultra successful, this is what they do. They take one thing, they work at that one thing, and they make it a thing in its own right. And then they allow that to start having babies and siblings and all of those things, right? Trying to do too many things at once is what keeps so many small businesses really small. Okay. And sometimes people do that because they're like, oh, but I'm going to lose out. I'm going to lose out, but you don't. For instance, I worked on my private practice for 8 years before before there's any conversation about EntreMD. It was for 8 years. But guess what I was doing the entire time I was in those 8 years? I was working on EntreMD even though it didn't exist. In fact, I was working on this book, even though the book didn't exist, because I was in it, learning the things. What are the 7 ways we leave money on the table? How do we fix it? So you never lose by focusing on one. But see what I did? I focused on one, built it, built a team around it. It could work without me. Built the second one, built a team around it so it can do a lot of things without me. Build the third one. So if you want to have 5 little things that you struggle with and you don't have teams for and are creating burnout, then you can do many at a time. If you want to do it in such a way where people are like, how are you able to do all these things and you're still okay? Like, you look happy. I don't know if you remember this, Makita. This was a vision retreat. And someone's like, I have a question. I'm like, what? And they're like, I see people, they get more successful, they get more miserable. It's like the more successful you get, the happier you become. What is going on? Part of it, there are many reasons, but part of it is this. We call it the pace of grace. We build, fortify, add another. Build and fortify, add another. So will we make you choose? We can't. I can't make you do anything. Would I recommend it? Very highly. I would very highly recommend. Yeah, because I want you to have your dream business or your dream businesses. I want you to have a dream life. I want you to build something that's sustainable. I want you to build something that maybe it's 5 years, 10 years down the line, you realize, wow, that was a good foundation. That was a good foundation. So I'm not going to look you in the face and then tell you to do what I know would be very challenging for you. I know people get burnt out with one business. What do you think happens with 2 when it's not, when it's not paced? Yeah.
I don't want any trickles, Dr. Una. I want the real thing. I want the real streams of income. I want to get into the investment for the school. I want to talk about that. But before we do, one thing that comes up a lot, particularly with private practice physicians, is they want to know if the school is going to help them with legalities, like legal formation, um, credentialing, the tech when it comes to creating videos, all of those very specific things. Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, so some of those things are things that you'll have resources for, and some things are things that you will need the expertise of the experts to do, right? Like, so when it comes to the legality, I'm not going to tell you like, this is how, fill this form and fill this form to set up your LLC and stuff like that. Like, we're not going to do that because we're not attorneys, we're not we're not legal Zoom, we're not any of those things. And so, of course, we'll tell you this is who you need to talk to, either your accountant or your attorney and things like that. So those we will not get into because that is not our area of expertise, right? When it comes to like your EHR and things like that, there's some like, if you're using like an Athena or, Physicians Computer Company or Epic, things like that, chances are there'll be people in the community who use those who can, give you pointers. But then again, all of those people have support teams, like, because it's so technical, and what was true 3 months ago is not true anymore today, right? So again, we would be the first to tell you, okay, this is who you want to talk to, this is the person to have a conversation with, but those conversations may not be with us. So we'll give you pointers, we'll steer you in the right direction, But we, like that would be a element of pride and deception for us to say all of that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Una. So let's talk about the investment. Tell me what the investment of the school is, and then how I can pay for the school.
Okay, so first of all, before we do that, remember what your next step is, right? So your next step, like if you've been thinking about the school, and the reason why I want to say this is because we have defining moments. Like Dr. Karen Kaufman sharing her story on Saturdays in tears, going like, I just wouldn't have been here if I didn't do this. And so this, for some of you on here, it's a defining moment because this is what you need. You know that you need to make that transition from physician to physician entrepreneur. You know that you're so uncomfortable talking about money. You're not leading your team. And there's a resource for you. Like when I look at the students in the EntreMD Business School, I was telling one today, I was like, I was nowhere near where you are at this stage in my business because I didn't have EBS, I didn't have the EntreMD Business School, but you do. It's an unbelievable resource. And so you owe it to yourself to at least have a conversation about it, right? So Makita has posted a link, it's entremd.com/call. Book your call. It is not a legally binding call. And Makita talks to doctors all day, every day. This is what she does. And there's so many people who thank her. Like they're like, oh my goodness, that call with you was a game changer for me, right? And so that's what that is. So book your call, but don't just hear this and say, I wonder. Like don't do that, right? Because you don't know what's on the other side. You don't know, right? Okay. So investment. So the investment for the school for the year is $30,000. And there are a number of ways you can pay for that. Some people would do a pay in full. Some people would do a 3-pay. So that's, $10,000 3 times. And then some other people would do a monthly plan. And the thing with the monthly plan is maybe Makita will talk, may talk a little bit more about that, but we partner with a company that will let you do it where you can probably get your investment down to about, $1,000 or less a month. And if you wanted to pay it faster, there are no penalties. So, you can start that way and a different way if you want. But between the pay in full, the payment, the 3-pay, and then the monthly payment plan, there's so many options. Any way you want to do it works depending on the stage of your business. So any of those are fine. We still have some spots for the people who do the pay in full will get to have a business, almost like a advisory board kind of call with me where we can look at your 90-day plan for your private practice. Like how can we scale the profitability of your business? And you can come to that call with one person, whether that's your business partner or your practice administrator or your office manager, any of those. And, so that way you're not bearing the weight of the responsibility of all these things by yourself. Right. So yeah, so those are the 3 ways you can pay for that.
Awesome. And when we talk about the investment in school, one question that often comes up is, are the in-person events included in the investment?
I would like that, but I don't own a hotel or resort or anything. Okay, so no. So this is the deal. The business school is complete in itself. Okay, it's complete in itself. We started doing in-person events because people were like, we did one, which was our vision retreat, our very first one, by the beach. It was just absolutely amazing. And then people are like, what? We have to wait a whole year for this again. We want to meet sooner. And so the business school is complete in itself. We've come together for, 3 days and just reinforce concepts. And there's just something magical about being in person. So that's separate. That's separate from the investment for the school. But if you choose not to do that, the school is complete in itself. Oh, you're still muted.
Sorry. What often happens is that people wonder if this is the right time. They hear all of the wonderful things about the school, all of the success stories, and actually believe that the school is great. But there's that question in their hearts if it's the right time to join. What would you say to someone who's wondering that?
Well, so My answer for that is usually funny. I think the right time was 2016. The next best right time is now. But this is the thing. There isn't a right time, right? What we have is our decisions, and we make our decisions, and we make the decision right? Like there isn't a right time to start a business. There isn't a right time to decide to scale your business. There isn't, right? So we choose, but with the way the healthcare space is now, if you run a private practice, you need what you need. The insurance companies are not going to say we decide to pay you better. Like that's not going to happen. Like you're going to decide that I'm going to make this work. Nobody's coming to save us. So if you already own a business, this is the right time. Like it's the right, when is the right time to thrive in your business? It's right now, right? And so we've had people who had really small children, 6 months old, and they joined the school. We have had people who had challenging things in their personal life, and they've joined the school. You may say it's not the right time because this is happening now, but if you've been an entrepreneur long enough, you know that stuff will always happen. We're not successful entrepreneurs because nothing is happening. We're successful entrepreneurs because we learn how to succeed even when things are happening, right? And so there is no right time. Like we decide this is the right time. Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you said about making the decision that this, I'm going to make this work and I'm going to make the commitment. The school does have rolling admissions, but we are starting a cohort very soon. So could you tell us the advantages of joining with the cohort?
Yeah. So with the cohorts, I mean, like Dr. Una cannot resist a cohort. Okay. So cohort means that you're going to get, so what we would do is before we even put you in the community, we would, do some trainings with you. One of my favorite is how to 10x your investment in the EntreMD Business School, because this is the deal. Like I win when you win. That's really what it is. And so that's why we talk about the commitment being required, because I want you to win. I don't want you to just come into school, pay whatever, and then at the end of the day, we're like, bye, that was fun. I want you to win, right? So, how to 10x your investment, that alone, how to 10x your investment in the EntreMD Business School. We would do trainings around that. We would do trainings about how to milk a network, and not milk in a parasitic way. But if you think about it, right, they say your network is your net worth. Think about a room with 100 physicians who are physician entrepreneurs who are on their way, right? And I mean, some of them on their way to their first 6 figures, some of them multiple 6 figures, some of them 7, some of them multiple 7, some of them exiting their current business, going into the next business, building teams, doing all kinds of crazy things. This is now your network. How do you show up in this community? And instead of being intimidated, you choose to leverage it, because people are your shortcut, right? As a mentor, I would be your shortcut, but the community will be a huge shortcut. So we show you how to do all of those things. So it's pretty cool to go in a cohort and you just hit the ground running. We had a cohort that just joined, and my goodness, are they doing amazing? Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's all for me, Dr. Una. And if anyone else has any other questions, now's your chance. We've got the amazing Dr. Una here with us, and she's being so generous with her time. And we really want to hear from you. We want to know what's pressing. So if there's anyone else has a question, please feel free to post it in the comment.
Yeah, so if you have a question, you can just go ahead and post that there. Like that's super cool. But I think I just want to leave everybody with this. You may be thinking, I don't know if this is the right time. There is no right time. I don't know if I have time. We know you probably don't. Like you don't. And we have already set you up to teach you how to do this. Okay. Today was a really good day for me, because I've homeschooled my older two for 2 or 3 years at this point. And then I wanted to bring the babies back home, my 9 and 10-year-olds. So today was their first day in homeschool, right? And so here I am running multiple businesses, have 4 kids, co-pastoring church with my husband, homeschooling my 4 kids, because that's what I want to do, right? It shows you that you can learn how to manage time different, right? So if you feel like I don't have time, that's a symptom that shows you should be in the school, right? Some people say I don't have, the investment is too much, right? But I really want, like, I don't look at, so someone was asking me about my EHR today. He's like, how much do you actually pay? I was like, I pay quite a bit. But the thing for me is I don't think in those terms. I think in terms of when I pay this, then what happens, right? And so I pay, a few $1,000s for it every month, but it gives me the capability to do things that easily creates multiple six figures every year. So I pay my 4,000 or whatever it is, I pay them every month happily, because the question is the return on investment, right? If you run a private practice, this book right here is your evidence that the business school worked for you. Because in this book are strategies that if you implement them on your own, will create multiple six figures in revenue. This is from a $15 book. So what happens when you're in the school? What happens when we're together every week? What happens when you have access to other private practice doctors who have done this and they're crushing it? What happens then? This is kind of like your not insurance policy, but this is the evidence that it will work. This is the evidence that it will work, right? And so the question then becomes, is it really expensive? I have never called it an expense, right? I call it an investment on purpose, because you will get an ROI. You make a decision, you'll get an ROI, right? And so if those are the things that have been holding you back, please book a call. This is, I mean, like, it's very important for you. It's very important for your family. It's very important, but it's also very important for the physician community to see so many examples of what is possible, that this becomes our new norm. So this is our new norm. We build thriving businesses. We build thriving practices. We live life on our terms. Yes, I'm a private practice doc, and I can still take 6 weeks of vacation every year. And I can live life on my terms. I can go for my kids' launch. I can do whatever it is that I need to do, right? That matters to me. Dr. Evelyn says, please, we go through the ways we could pay. So there are 3 ways. So if that's you, book your call. Okay, Makita put the link. Just book a call, explore this, but don't just walk away. Okay. What are the ways we could pay? So there are 3 ways. So one is a pay in full. And that is, so that's the 30,000. You want to pay it once. Okay. So a number of people, that's what they do. There's a 3 pay. So that's $10,000 3 times. The advantage is you still get the paying full discount, if you will, meaning that you're only paying 30, you're not paying more, even though it's an installment. And then the 3rd way would be a monthly payment plan that we partnered with a company to do. And those payments could be as low as $1,000 or a little under. Yeah. So those are the 3 ways. But if you talk with Makita when you book the call, if there are any more details, I think for the monthly payment, you can actually get, like, instantly, you'll know if you're approved and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's what I have. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, I'll let you go. Thank you so much. Okay, you're welcome, Dr. Evelyn. Thank you so much for coming to spend the time with us. I think the thing I want you to leave with the most is that the EntreMD Business School is our gift to the physician community. It is time for us to thrive. It is time for us to build profitable 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses and live life on our own terms. And so if you've been thinking about it, just book the call. We are happy to support you. We're happy to answer your questions. It is not a high pressure call. Nobody's going to force you to do anything, but we will just help you explore and, help you with to get your questions answered. And then whatever decision you need to make, you can make. Okay. All right. Rooting for you. Looking forward to the people I'm going to get to welcome into the school and introduce to your new classmates who are waiting for you, by the way. It's such a beautiful community where people are actually like, yeah, who's coming, right? And because they recognize that as the community grows, we get better, like, everybody gets better. So looking forward to welcoming you. And go book your call, and Makita will be talking to you soon. Okay. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.